I'm Mary Crowley, and this is Mostly Arts. And today I have with me the Grand Poobah, the Executive Director of the Paramount Theatre on Center Street in Rutland, Vermont. I am so happy to have you here. The Paramount is such an important piece of my life and everybody else's in Rutland, in the area. So, the Paramount does so much. It has so many different kinds of offerings. Would you just mention some of the 2024 offerings?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, 30 Center Street, you mentioned it. It's the heart of downtown Rutland.
It is.
It really is the heart of our community, right, in so many ways. And the variety you speak of, I think, is one of the things that makes us perhaps most popular with our population. Mm-hmm. We're all over the map. I mean, you and I were just chatting a few minutes ago about you were there for the symphony this past weekend. We have 3 or 4 dates on the books every year with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. We're very proud to be their home here in the Rutland County. In addition to the Vermont Symphony Orchestra, we present all sorts of Grammy Award-winning country musicians, rock and roll musicians. We welcome dance companies from New York. Consistently, every season, we welcome 1 or 2 dance companies to prance across our stage. We try and bring in small musical theater, although that's becoming more and more difficult as the touring world tightens up a little bit. Broadway's been a little hard for us, but to counter that...
Why has the touring...
A lot of these larger shows are just too darn big for our little stage, to put it bluntly.
They cost a lot of money?
They cost a lot of money, and they don't physically fit.
Okay, got it.
So to counter that, what we've done, I'm very proud of, as you know, we have a very talented pool of community actors, singers, stage technicians.
Yes.
4 or 5 years ago, we brought to life the Paramount Players. So one additional facet to what it is that we do is we welcome over 100 performers every year onto our stage.
Now that includes the Rutland Youth Theater.
Whole separate organization.
Okay.
So that's a whole other group of a few hundred people. So the Paramount Players, they brought Mamma Mia to life on stage.
Yes, and it was wonderful.
Wasn't it great?
Yes.
Great music.
I saw it in London, but I also saw it in Rutland, and it was just as exciting.
Different accent. Mamma Mia, Wizard of Oz. We brought Shrek the Musical to life. That was really a really fun one. And then most recently we brought Little Shop of Horrors.
I missed that.
It was a lot of fun. That was in April. It was right around the eclipse, which made it appropriate if you're familiar with the story. Yeah. And then I can't let the cat out of the bag yet, but I will go on to let you know that perhaps this April there's another Paramount Players production about ready to take the stage. And we'll talk about that maybe next time I'm here. So all that to say, to answer your question, what's coming to the Paramount? A whole lot of everything.
Okay.
And that's what we're most proud of.
Yeah, and you didn't mention opera.
Excuse me, and the opera. See, there's so many things, I can't think of them all.
The only reason I mention that is I play bridge in Wallingford, and in the basement there are books for sale, and paperbacks are 50 cents.
Okay.
So I saw, when I was playing bridge, a tome on opera, a paperback. So for 50 cents, I got all kinds of information about many, many operas.
I'm going to go shopping with you. This is the second time today you've told me about good deals you found.
And so I want to go on Tuesdays in January, February, March, etc., to the opera. Yeah, I haven't been able to go yet.
So it's an encore series, so it's a previously recorded production from the Metropolitan Opera. I don't believe it does whatsoever. And we put it up on our big screen, which again, I'll remind folks, is one of the largest in the state. Also worth mentioning. Didn't know that. Also worth mentioning, just this past October, perhaps it was September, we installed a new projector. So in addition to this incredible 5-point surround sound system that you can enjoy the Metropolitan Opera broadcast with, you're now looking at a screen that has a projector with more than twice the power of the previous one. Now, what does that mean for the average attendee? It means things are more crisp. It means the subtitles are easier to read. It means the darker scenes in some of those operas, and let's face it, some operas have some pretty dark scenes. Right. They're brighter, they're more clear. You can really see what it was perhaps the director was trying to capture. Okay. So yeah, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Tuesdays.
Well, Art and I went to one performance of the Metropolitan Opera. And we paid an enormous sum of money for a seat that was way back there.
Yeah. You were in Hoboken.
Pretty much. And then I saw some operas at the Paramount. Much better. Really much, much better than
Also less expensive.
Oh, terribly. It was awful.
Yeah.
I don't know what those people who sat closer paid.
More than you. No, it's a series you're very proud of. We present it in honor of a good friend of the theater, which was Kathy Harm. Kathy and Bill Harm have been great supporters of the Paramount over the years, and we're proud to bring that series back in their name this year. It's an encore series, like I said, and as you mentioned, it's Tuesdays, and it's $20.
Which is
for $20, you can sit in the beautiful Paramount Theater for 3 hours, watch some of the most talented performers in the world perform on one of the most famous stages.
With subtitles, so you understand what's going on.
I really need those.
Right, I do too.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Most of us do. Okay. I went to the Vermont Symphony Orchestra concert, full of wonderful Christmas music, some of which we sang, with a conductor from Puerto Rico who was marvelous, full of energy, communicated with the audience beautifully. And Barbara Giancola was to my right. So we talked about the Paramount, and she told me this story. So would you just delineate a little the story?
Our community owes a lot to Barbara Giancola.
Yes.
The Paramount standing today, I put at her feet perhaps more than most, if not all. In a lot of ways, it was Barb's connection to the community and understanding of its importance that it bounced back the way that it did. And not to suggest that was easy. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears poured into that building. You have to remember, the theater was built in 1914. It operated until 1931 as the Playhouse. It was a vaudeville theater.
Okay, it was vaudeville.
Vaudeville, yep. Live performance on a much smaller stage.
Okay.
That operated until 1931 as the Playhouse. George Chaffee built that.
Okay.
In 1931, it became the Paramount. And that's because Talking Pictures came to town.
And then it became a movie theater.
Then it became a movie theater. So in 1931, in addition to live performance, it became a movie house as well.
Okay.
It ran all the way up until 1975, not as successfully as perhaps it was in those earlier decades, but through 1975, the doors did stay open, at that point almost exclusively as a movie house, closing its doors in 1975. It was not mortgaged to the Paramount until 1985. So in those years in between, the Giancolas took care of what today is the crown jewel of our community.
Yes, it is.
And without that support, without that foresight into what this would mean for our community and future generations, it saddens me to think what it could have become. But it didn't. And it became the Paramount that we know today. And in 99, to give you the full history, in 99, John Russell Corporation was chosen as the contractor. A complete remodel was done from front to back, up to down. And
remodel, but a lot of the original theater was retained, right? I mean, I'm thinking of all the gold.
There's a lot of recreation in there.
Okay, all right.
Based off of old photos.
Okay.
And some existing structure that was there. They were able to replicate some of the plaster work.
Okay.
But it was a renovation from top to bottom for sure.
All right.
And now we get to enjoy that today, almost 25 years
later. And when did it open?
January of 2000.
Okay, so it's been 24 years. It seemed like a long time.
Yeah. Yes, it has. 25 years next year, next month.
Very good. All right, coming up in 2025, can you highlight some of what will be there?
Yeah, so that great trend that I think the Paramount has so successfully visited over the years of variety continues right through early summer. So we have the Vermont Symphony returning with Grace Potter. That's going to be the third week of March.
And that's sold out.
Just about sold out. There's one or two single seats if you want them. Grab them now.
No, I do.
Go get them. Shut the cameras off. We have tickets.
How do I do that? I mean, the box office isn't open.
ParamountVT.org, Mary.
Yes, of course.
I have to say that at least 4 more times. I know you know that.
And you're Eric at ParamountVT.org.
I am. Thank you. So she's with us the third week of March. This is her first performance with the Vermont Symphony, with the full symphony present. This is going to be a very special evening, and I'm proud to say it debuts in Rutland. It is in Burlington the next night, but it will rehearse with us on Thursday.
Love it.
Then for the very first performance, it will happen right at the Paramount Theater in downtown Rutland.
What is she doing otherwise? Does she tour?
She tours, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So she's with us in March. Lots of great stuff. January, Yonder Mountain String Band, lovely band of bluegrass-y sort of music. Yonder Mountain String Band, look them up. We'll talk about them later.
I would just as soon go to some concerts, especially in the winter, that I might not think were my first choice, but just to experience something new.
Boy, we could use a few more folks like you. Absolutely.
No, that sounds like a good concert. That's in January?
That's in January.
Okay.
Yonder Mountain String Band.
That sounds good.
Also in January.
Yonder Mountain.
Yonder Mountain. Price is Right live.
Yes.
This will be fun.
Saw that.
Full-size car on stage. Somebody could drive away in a car that night.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is the
Who's
real deal.
Who's donating the car?
It comes with the tour. This arrives on the back of a truck. We're going to give away vacations.
What make, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But free.
Yes, free.
If you win it, it's free. So maybe the make doesn't matter as much. I don't know.
Of course not.
No. Free is the game.
Family Feud.
Family Feud will be with us. So the Business Feud, that's put on by the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland Region, CEDAR. They'll be with us in February. I love that night. I get to host that.
Okay.
I have a blast.
Okay.
We have a good time. I'm glad you mentioned that too. That's something that we don't necessarily talk about as much as I think we should, is the Paramount does belong to our community.
It does, indeed.
And we talk about these massive tours that we bring through and these national headlining artists that have Grammys and Tonys and Academy Award on their mantle. Perhaps even more exciting than that in so many ways are the nights of local talent.
Okay.
Or the nights
Yeah.
of local anything, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's who keeps the Paramount alive. So these nights that we get to celebrate them, like the Business Feud.
Right.
The Business Feud, for those that aren't familiar, it takes 10 teams of 5 folks from different businesses across a myriad of sectors from our community.
Like the hospital might be one?
Yeah, like the hospital might go up against a local doctor's office.
Okay.
So that's the feud. And yours truly as the host, then puts them through the paces of 5 questions per side, and the highest score wins.
Are they random sorts of questions?
You could say that, yeah.
Okay.
Random-ish. Yeah, they're random.
Okay, they're not medical specific?
No, I see what you're saying. No, they're goofy.
Okay.
They're goofy questions with goofy answers, and the audience has an absolute blast. And I honestly, just being deeply personal here for a minute, it's probably one of my favorite nights of the year.
Okay.
And it's not just the content. It's the overall feeling in the building.
It's members of the community who are up there willing to be on stage and maybe come up with some answers that aren't correct. And
I recognize that's not easy for everybody.
No, I wouldn't think so.
To get up on stage in front of almost 1,000 people and just
almost
being
1,000?
there is hard. 838.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea
That's
how
our
many seats there were.
838. And another factoid for you.
Okay.
There were more seats upstairs than down. Pretty uncommon in theaters of our size.
Right.
Generally speaking, your orchestra level, the main floor have more, but we're the opposite. More seats upstairs than down.
Well, I like to sit in row 1, 2, or 3 of the loge.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I like to have that vantage point.
I'm not the tallest guy, so having the opportunity to not have people over me is an advantage. But you know, there's a lot to be said about the fact that there really is no bad seat in the Paramount, which I think
That's
for
what I am told.
somebody in my position, that might sound like it's a bit of a cliched statement. But having spent half of my life in that building, I can tell you I've sat in most of those chairs. They're all pretty darn good.
Well, I can remember we went to, I don't remember what the performance was, and we were in the balcony, and Joni, a friend, was maybe the next to the last row. So she came down, and I said, "How was it up there?" Thinking she would say, "Ugh."
Yeah.
No, she said it was wonderful. It was fine.
We have a number of patrons that reach out to us, specifically for the symphony, that say they would like to sit upstairs.
Oh, yes.
It gives you that bird's eye view that
Well, you can see almost all the instruments.
For sure, yeah.
If you're not too far to the left or the right,
Right.
you can.
Right.
And we weren't at the concert on Sunday. By the way, I want to mention before we go on, it is December 11th, and it is raining and raining and raining.
Yeah.
And so I arranged this snow and the Santa hat so there'd be a little bit of cheer. This will be on in January as well, so this will be passé, but it is cheerful. And maybe we'll have some snow. We did have snow.
I hope we did.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah, right. But now it's rain with a chance of flooding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Otter Creek, I was told this morning. Is
A lot
that
of rain.
possible?
A lot of rain. My drive in this morning, the creek was high.
Too much rain.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but you can go to the Paramount and forget.
The queen of segues. That was good.
Forget the weather. The children, the Rutland Youth Theater. Can you speak about them
Absolutely.
briefly?
So they're with us right now, actually. They are in production with Elf Jr.
Right.
Almost 100 students on stage over the course
100?
of 100. I think it's low 90s, upper
Okay.
80s. It's a lot, yeah. Almost 100.
That's amazing.
It's one of our greatest pride and joys.
Right.
The idea.
And that's probably a full house.
Oh, for certain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Three
extended
shows.
family, parents, grandparents.
Oh, do the math.
Aunts, uncles, nieces.
Yeah, neighbors.
Right. Teachers.
It's a special week for us when we have Rutland Youth Theater with us. Not many kids in communities the size of Rutland
Right.
have an opportunity
No.
to walk onto a world-class stage. The Paramount's technology rivals that of any major theater in the country. That I can absolutely guarantee. From lighting
I did not know
to
that.
sound. Oh yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Well, say some more. From lighting to.
From lighting to sound, we've done we've kept a very keen eye on making sure that the technology is always at the forefront.
Okay.
Like most things, you buy a DVD player in 1992, it was $700, and then 6 months later, they're free in the bin at the local
right.
Goodwill. Theater technology is not that much different. It ages out rather quickly. It becomes obsolete much more quickly than we would like it to.
And so you have to buy new equipment.
So we're constantly having to make sure our inventory is up to snuff. And that's not only to the advantage
So
of...
how do you know? Did the technicians who take care of lighting and sound tell you?
Our local technicians, we have a great team here on site, but also don't forget, we're visited a couple times a week by a national tour that just came from some other city. And they are very much on top of their game in terms of what is technologically
Do they question
proficient.
ahead of time?
Oh, very much so.
They do.
Very much so. Yeah, by the time a bus rolls up or a truck backs up to the loading dock, all of the finite details of the day have already been ironed through.
Okay.
And at that point, it's time to activate the plan.
All right.
But all of the steps, down to every wire, everything has been examined.
So might whoever's in charge of a touring group ask you ahead of time for specifics about your light and sound?
Yep. So we have.
And then maybe you will have to do something. You will have to buy something new.
So
this is all a new thought to me.
No, it's a great conversation. So many years ago, when the theater was still perhaps getting its footing financially and artistically, there weren't the resources available to us directly for us to buy this stuff. So we'd rent it. And as you know, renting things.
Rent it.
Oh, yeah. You'd rent speakers and rent lights and rent microphones and rent guitar stands, and you'd rent anything that wasn't nailed down, because in the immediate, it was a less expensive option than having to purchase. Over these 25 years, as we've continued to grow our brand equity here in our community, and that love for the organization has really wrapped its arms around us, we now have some of those additional resources that allow us to upgrade equipment maybe before it's completely gone to dust. But to answer your question, yes, we provide a what's called a rider, a IT rider to the production team, and it spells everything out from what are the dimensions of the stage to what are the lights that are on overhead. Describe to us your PA. What is your sound system like? Every minute detail is examined before the bus is unloaded.
Okay, so they know. I want to go back. You said something about there was a smaller stage. So when the Paramount was renovated, was the stage made larger?
Yes, so if you're sitting in the auditorium, as you were on Sunday, and you're facing the stage, the gold frame around the opening into the stage, that's their proscenium. That frame is called the proscenium. From the proscenium south, from the proscenium back, the area the performers are on, and up the 4 stories that we have, that is all
4 stories?
4 stories.
Okay.
That's
Go
all
ahead.
new construction since '99.
Okay.
So when the renovation was completed, the stage was greatly expanded. It's more than twice the size that it was, is my understanding.
I'm thinking, I was in a few shows when Rip Jackson was directing musicals, and I can remember if I was supposed to go on from stage left and then I had to move, there was a little tiny hallway in the back.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to make yourself small.
Hold your breath and run without making things wiggle,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, now you have a story too. Not only is the Paramount a story, but you're a story.
Oh, I have a story.
Yes.
What story
How
should I
did you
tell?
arrive
Oh, that
as
story.
executive director?
I joined the theater a little over 20 years ago. I joined as an intern. I was looking at an opportunity that was presented to me to hone some of my marketing skills, learn a little bit more about my community. That was really the original intentions. And
So you were hired as a marketing person more than anything else?
as a marketing intern.
Okay, who was in charge?
The director at the time, his name was Ron Naples.
Okay.
He was the director in 2003. And he hired me. Interestingly, a lot of the team, our production team that is there today, Tom and David, they were there when I came on board. They were there before me. They were there since the beginning. I was in the internship position for, I don't know, a year maybe, and then I became an assistant box office manager, and then over time, worked my way up, and it was...
Well, Bruce Bouchard was the executive director for a while.
Yeah, Bruce joined us in 2008, so I'd been there, I don't know, half dozen years.
And what was your job when he was the ED?
Boy, you're stretching my memory here. What did the business card read? At the time, I was the assistant director, I think is what my title was. It's a very small team. We're the equivalent of...
What was the nature of your job? What were you responsible for?
That's where I was headed here. We're a pretty small team, so job descriptions tend to be a little bit more maybe fluid than they would be in a larger organization. Where I found that my heartbeat really picks up in a positive way is I really enjoy the programming aspect of what it is that we do. I like putting together the menu, if you will. I kind of feel a bit like a chef.
It is a menu.
Yeah. I get to be a chef in the kitchen.
Yes.
And my kitchen is the stage. So primarily that's been my focus for a good chunk of my time with the organization. But all that changed in 2020 when I was named director. Bruce, rightfully so.
What month of the year were you named director?
I see where you're going with this.
Was it before we were in lockdown?
No, it was in July of 2020 that I was appointed interim executive director, and it was in November of 2020 that I was made the executive director.
And what did you do during the pandemic? How did you keep things going? I mean, I can't imagine.
It was a pretty exciting time. And I laid this at the feet of our community. The Paramount the Paramount existed because of the community, and it was able to exist through the pandemic because of the community.
I don't remember what happened during the pandemic. Tell me, what happened?
We wore a lot of masks. And,
yes,
you mean at the theater? Oh,
yeah.
We did wear masks at the theater too.
Yeah, right.
We the first few months saw a full closure. Our doors were closed, and we were really unable to do any entertainment whatsoever. Yeah. And then it was shortly thereafter that we decided it was time to build a couple of drive-in movie theaters. So we built a drive-in movie theater in Rutland.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, Field of Dreams. That's right. We built one at the Vermont State Fairgrounds.
Yes, that's where I saw Field of Dreams.
That's where you saw Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
I was there that night too.
I had seen it before. But I don't know, I enjoyed it more the second time because we were all in lockdown.
There was something about that, I think this
It was just great.
We were together but not.
Yes, exactly.
And it was very needed.
Yeah.
So we built Rutland, then we built one in Brandon, up at Estabrook Field. So we built a couple of drive-in movie theaters, and then we decided, we want to get back to entertainment with live performers. So in an old sort of defunct cornfield, just south of the fairgrounds, we built a performance space for 1,500 people. And that summer...
I didn't go, I don't think. What was the feature?
We called it Outside the Box, and it was...
Right, it was.
It was very outside the box. And we presented a number of different artists out in the field to thousands of people, safely distanced on the lawn. Right. So we did that, and that was able to...
Was that 2021, or was
2021.
That... Okay.
Yeah. And then by the fall of 2021, we started to get back indoors, and we've slowly sort of clawed our way back to what we now refer to as normalcy. And normalcy for us is something I don't know if the general public totally has yet to wrap their head around, because we don't share it that often in literal terms. over 60,000 people a year cross our thresholds.
That's amazing.
When you're talking about a community, a city of 15,000 and a county of what, 45, the idea that we have more than the county visit our doors, walk through our doors every year is a pretty remarkable thing.
Absolutely. I had no idea. So they come from outside the county, some of the people.
Oh, we draw from
For the VSO, I remarked to somebody that there were very few people that I knew in the balcony and the loge.
Yeah.
And it used to be that, I don't know, when I went to something at the Paramount, I knew a lot of people.
Knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think
it's good they come from other places.
It's a great attribute. You know, I think the idea that the Paramount can draw from areas like Chittenden County, for instance, that's a good feather in our cap. Well,
if I knew the VSO was going to be in Rutland, I would drive from Middlebury,
Absolutely.
or Brandon, or Manchester, or Wallingford.
There's a lot to be said about the experience the Paramount offers.
Yes, it is.
We are something I would invite you to look at next time you're there, and anybody at home. Do this next time you're at the Paramount. Take note of the fact that the seating is all, and that's not hyperbole, all square to the stage. What I mean by that is, if you think about some old theaters, it's a big V.
Right.
And if you're in the back, you're tucked sort of over there, and your head is at a 45-degree angle to see the stage. Yeah. Well, remember, the Paramount was built upon the site that was the old town livery. It was the stable. Pre-1914, it was the stable. When we bring student groups through, I refer to it as the old parking garage, right? It's where you would have parked your horse. So imagine, if you will, on either side of that, there were existing buildings. So the exterior walls of the buildings on either side of the Paramount, their exterior walls became the interior walls of the theater. And what does that mean? It means that your seating is square.
Right. Yeah.
If the theater was built before the opposite buildings were built, then they could have potentially done that wide spread. We don't have that. So your view is always direct onto the stage.
And I suspect nobody knows that.
Now they do.
They will.
Now they do. It's interesting. It was pointed out to me by John Berryhill, who was the architect on the job in 1999 from NBF. He's on our board. And John and I were chatting on stage a few months back. And he said to me, he said, "Boy, what do you notice special about this place?" And I said, what do you mean? There's a lot special about this place. And he's the one that pointed out to me. Everything is nice and clean.
Yes,
and that's what lends to the experience. And this is why people will drive from Chittenden County. I'll go on record as saying...
From Chittenden County?
Oh, regularly. I'll go on record to say I would rather see, I'll use the symphony as the example again, at the Paramount versus a building, a venue, similar in size to a place like the Flynn. And that's not a knock on the Flynn. I just happen to think that the logistics of our theater lend itself to a better experience.
The experience, our seats on Sunday were wonderful.
Good.
They were near the center, and it was 2 rows up, and we just got a wonderful view of the orchestra.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, it is.
I'm glad you were there.
I am too. So, what do you want to say in 1 minute?
I want to invite folks to make sure they're visiting ParamountVT.org. It is the place to gather all the information about who the Paramount is, what it is that we have coming up. I invite people to scroll back. Don't just look at what's coming up. Get a feel for who we are. You can go through our calendar backward. Go take a look. See who it is that we're all about. And I think, you know, the bones of any conversation when it comes to the Paramount, the who we are is we are the community. And as long as we can keep having conversations like this and keep having 60,000 people cross our thresholds, we'll be here for the community for a very long time.
And this is wonderful. And I just want to say in the few seconds left, the Richardson building next door is going to be...
Complete renovation, top to bottom. We poured the footing. Like I did anything.
Yes.
I watched them pour the footing yesterday for our new 4-story elevator. We're talking new concessions, expanded lobbies, a new 4th floor space for 300 people, more entertainment on its way.
Very good. ParamountVT.org. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.